Matthew Henry Bible Commentary, complete. It's on Psalm 37. This psalm is a sermon, and an excellent useful sermon it is, calculated not as most of the psalms for our devotion, but for our conversation. There is nothing in it of prayer or praise, but it is all instruction. It is maskil, a teaching psalm. It is an exposition of some of the hardest chapters in the book of Providence, the advancement of the wicked and disgrace of the righteous. Let me read that again. The advancement of the wicked and the disgrace of the righteous. A solution of the difficulties that arise thereupon, and an exhortation to conduct ourselves as becomes us under such dark dispensations. The work of the prophets and David as one was to explain the law. Now the law of Moses had promised temporal blessings to the obedient, and denounced temporal miseries against the disobedient, which principally referred to the body of the people, the nation as a nation, for when they came to be applied to particular persons, many instances occurred of sinners in prosperity and saints in adversity. To reconcile those instances with the word that God had spoken is the scope of the prophet in this psalm, in which one, he forbids us to fret at the prosperity of the wicked in their ways. 2, he gives very good reasons why we should not fret at all, because of the scandalous character of the wicked. Notwithstanding their prosperity and the honorable character of the righteous, because of the destruction and ruin which the wicked are nigh to, and the salvation and the protection of the righteous are sure of from all the malicious designs of the wicked, because of the peculiar mercy God has in store for all good people and the favor he shows them. He prescribes very good remedies against this sin of envying the prosperity of the wicked, and great encouragement to those remedies. In singing this psalm we must teach and admonish one another rightly to understand the providence of God, and to accommodate it ourselves. At all times carefully to do our duty, then patiently to leave the event to God, and to believe that, however black soever things look, for the present it shall be well with those that fear God. That fear is before him. I had a dream, and I'd given it to my mom. And then I woke up from another dream. After that dream, I became really persecuted. The devil had this plan to give me a business. He even gave me the name. It's a peculiar name. I wrote down that, and I have the text, the date, and the time. And then later on, about, I would say maybe a week, 2 weeks, maybe somewhere in there, somebody came out with the same name, using the same offer, I'm sure. And it was on the news about their particular product with the name, which is really odd that they would use that name to make it into a news article. But I just thought, as hard as things have been, and always so unsure, and you see people doing things and it seems like they always get ahead, and I could have taken that offer up, and I'm sure that Satan would have blessed it, because he doesn't want God using me for anything, and he doesn't want this experience that I'm going through. Whatever God's going to do with my life, he does not want this to come to pass. I don't even know what it is. I'm not even certain what God's call for real ultimately will be for my life, but I know that I was offered something from Satan if I would take that up and shut my mouth, that I would have enough money to live on and I wouldn't have to worry anymore. So you can imagine when I seen the news article, it was on a news station. They actually did a video and it describing this couple here who used this name. I couldn't believe it. I'd never seen anything like it. Not only did they promote the name of this cooking, what they named it, they were promoting themselves as far as singing and in every way. It was the most amazing thing I had ever seen in my life. And I knew what I had been offered. If I would just shut up and do it Satan's way, I would have had a deal. I didn't take the deal. Obviously, I'm still poor as a church mouse and don't even know if I'll have a home soon, you know? And I knew it was a test at the same time. But that's why we're not to fret just because we see other people getting ahead in the way and doing abusive things. The Bible tells us not to, and in my dream last night, this right here was added to Psalm 35. And you think, well, you can't be a Christian and get an offer like that. Oh, yes, you can. You tell me Jesus wasn't a Christian when he walked 40 days and 40 nights in the wilderness, and all the offers, all the things that Satan offered him. You surely can be offered all kinds of things. It wasn't the first time, but that was just the most amazing ones that I'd seen that had come. And I knew that if I'd taken this up, I believe that other people have probably experienced it. It wouldn't be long and little things in my life would start changing to where suddenly you'd see that I wasn't homeless or pretty much on the streets, that I would have had an opportunity to have nice things in this world. And I would have been able to get myself cleaned up, and I'm sure the devil would have left me alone and my health would have come back. Yeah, I believe that with all my heart. But I don't want the devil to leave me alone because I have given him permission to rule my life. If the devil leaves my health alone, it's going to come completely from God in the right timing when God has decided that I have had enough of whatever it is that he wants in me, and that includes being humble. There's no reason for me to have gone through all this except to be humbled. Because I have an attitude, and he was getting rid of that attitude. He couldn't use me with this kind of stuff in me. It had to go. But anyway, going on in Psalm 37, verses 1 through 6, and I need to say this too. I just feel like the Holy Spirit's nudging me. You're going to get, you probably think, oh, she's just saying that. I'm actually not. I can prove that this did happen. The point is that I'm not the only one that this will happen to or has happened to. Some people have had the offer and they took it up. Satan didn't even have to come to them with this kind of offer flat out like he did me. They just gave themselves over to it and just, yeah. And some of you, especially as it gets closer to the end, and if you're doing something really big for God or God's got a plan for your life, he's going to come up with all kinds of scenarios for you to make money or want to have all kinds of things in this world just to keep you off of his back and not doing God's will. I know that sounds like it's unbelievable, like something like that couldn't happen. I'm telling you, it did happen. It really did, and I know that it's not only going to be me. It's a warning to the whole body of Christ. Watch out, because he wants to take you off of your post, and he wants you fretting about evil people getting ahead in this life, and the way they abuse people, how they treat people, and he wants to get your focus on that, so you won't focus on God, and I just love it. And just that, I believe that's why I was given this along with Psalm 35 last night. Get your eyes off of stuff like that, is what he's saying to me and to any else who need it. So verses 1 through 6. The instructions are that here given are very plain. Much need not be said for the exposition of them, but there is a great deal to be done in the reducing of them to practice, and there they will look best. 1. We are cautioned against discontent at the prosperity and success of evildoers. And it says, Fret not thyself, neither be thou envious. We may suppose that David speaks this to himself at first, and preaches it to his own heart, in his communing with that upon his bed, for the suppressing of those corrupt passions which he found working there, and then leaves it in writing for instruction to others that might be in similar temptation. You see, the temptation wasn't the sin, it would have been taking up the temptation. That is preached best, and with most probability of success to others, which is first preached to ourselves. Now 1. When we look abroad, we see the world full of evildoers and workers of iniquity that flourish and prosper, and they have what they will and do what they will. They live in ease and pomp themselves and have power in their hands to do mischief to those about them. So it was David's time, and therefore, if it is so still, let us not marvel at the matter as though it were some new or strange thing. 2. When we look within, we find ourselves tempted to fret at this, and to be envious against these scandals and burdens, these blemishes and common nuances of this earth. We are apt to fret at God, as if he were unkind to the world, and unkind to his church in permitting men to live and prosper and prevail as they do. We are apt to fret ourselves with vexation at their success in their evil projects. We are apt to envy them the liberty they take in getting wealth, and perhaps by unlawful means, and in the indulgence of their lust, and to wish that we could shake off the restraints of conscience to do so. We are tempted to think them the only happy people, and to incline to imitate them, and to join ourselves with them, that we may share in their gains and eat of their dainties. And this is that which we are warned against. Fret not thyself, neither be thou envious. Fretfulness and envy are sins that are their own punishments. They are the uneasiness of the spirit, and the rottenness of the bones. It is therefore in kindness to ourselves that we are warned against them. Yet that is not all, for 3, we look forward with an eye of faith that we will see no reason to envy wicked people of their prosperity. For their ruin is at the door, and they are ripened apace for it. They flourish but as the grass, and as the green herb, which nobody envies nor frets at. The flourishing of the godly man is like that of a fruitful tree, but that of a wicked man is like the grass and herbs, which are very short-lived. They soon wither themselves. Outward prosperity is a fading thing, and so is the life itself to which it is confined. They will sooner be cut down by the judgments of God. Their triumphing is short, but their weeping and wailing will be everlasting. Part 2. I just want to say, some of the most greatest pastors ever used. Honestly, they died with nothing. They'd given everything away. And you just don't hear of that anymore. You know? You just don't hear about it at all. So here's part 2. We are here counseled to live a life on confidence and complacency in God, and that will keep us from fretting at the prosperity of evildoers. If we do well for our own souls, we shall see little reason, to envy others that do ill for theirs. Here are three excellent precepts, which we are to be ruled by, and to enforce them. Three precious promises, which we may rely upon. Number 1, we must make God our hope in the way of duty, and we shall have a comfortable subsistence in this world. 3, it is required that we trust in the Lord and do good, that we confide in God and conform to Him. The life of religion lies much in a believing reliance on God, His favor, His providence, His promise, His grace, and a diligent care to serve Him and our generation according to His will. We must not think to trust in God and then live as we list. No, it is not trusting God, but tempting Him, if we do not make conscience of our duty to Him. Nor must we think to do good and then to trust ourselves and our own righteousness and strength. No, we must both trust the Lord and do good. And then, number 2, it is promised that we shall be provided for in this world. It is promised that we shall be provided for in this world. So shalt thou dwell in the land, and verily thou shalt be fed. He does not say, so shalt thou get preferment, dwell in a palace, and be feasted. This is not necessary. A man's life consists not in the abundance of these things, but thou shalt have a place to live in, and in that land, in Canaan, the valley of vision, thou shalt have food and convenient for thee. It is more than we deserve. It is as much as a good man can stipulate for. And it is enough for one that is going to heaven. Thou shalt have a settlement, a quiet settlement, and a maintenance, a comfortable maintenance. Verily thou shalt be fed. Some read it, thou shalt be fed by faith, as are the just said to live by faith, and it is good living, good feeding upon the promises. Verily thou shalt be fed, as Elijah in the famine, with what is needful for thee. God Himself is a shepherd, a feeder to all those that trust in Him. Psalm 23:1. And about 5-6 years back, I had to dream 3 in a row, and I had never seen the United States like that before until we had the riots. And this was posted before the riots. This is on my Facebook. If you go back several years back, I posted it more than once. And I just seen nothing but the chaos of everything broken out, everything stolen, everything just exactly the way you'd see out when one of those places got emptied out by the rioters, looting and all that. I mean, it was just like that, except it was all over. It was everywhere. And people were scared to death. And it's a whole different world is what it looked like to me. I mean, completely different for everyone. And this happened, and I woke up after seeing all that, and I saw a couple of people hidden back in a building. And I knew their conversation was, what are we going to do? What's going to happen to us? How are we going to take, they were having all these questions. So I had that dream. I woke up and it startled me awake. And then I just thought on it a bit quickly, just laid back down, went back asleep, had the same dream again, ending with the 2 people talking. Then I went to the third dream, and I woke up, and then I had the third dream. The third dream identical to the other 2, but at the very last, God said, tell my people that I'll take care of them. And I did. I put that on my Facebook. I put that, in other places, on Google Plus. When I had the dream, I told others. And I say it to myself to remind myself. God said, tell my people I'm going to take care of them. Because it's going to be horrific. All this stuff and hoarding, and I mean, it's just, it was unbelievable, people. You can't even, I couldn't even imagine it myself until I seen the buildings looking like that when they had the riots and stuff like that. I had never seen anything like that before. And like I said, I have posted all this. before we had the riots with the buildings looking like that. So I had seen something of that, a foreshadowing of it, before it happened. And then when that happened and I seen those buildings, I knew that's exactly what it's going to look like everywhere. And I don't even want to go into detail how bad it'll be, but I think you can imagine. And the only really protection that you're going to have in a situation like that, because it looked like society had completely shut down, completely. There was nothing to go to the store to buy. It was society was completely, it was done. And the only way to supernaturally live in that was supernaturally. That means God providing for every need, God providing for all your protection, God providing everything. It's walking in faith and I guess He'd probably even give us the grace to walk in that kind of faith and have that kind of trust in Him. But that was a dream, and I did see it. I did see the foreshadowing of it. Those buildings burnt down, the police station gone through and burnt down and stuff like that. Except I seen it where it was just, I didn't see it as that, but I knew it as that. It was everywhere, everywhere. And people were scared to death, not knowing what to do. And right here I'm telling you, Psalm 37 tells us we're going to be okay. God will take care of us. Don't fret about people who seem like they've got everything. You can't even imagine what's coming and the kind of judgments. It doesn't matter. There's a great big equalizer coming, you know? So I'm going into to the next part. We must make God our heart's delight, and then we shall have our heart's desire. We must not only depend upon God, but solace ourselves in Him. We must be well pleased that there is a God, and that He is such a one as He has revealed Himself to be, and that He is our God in covenant. We must delight ourselves in His beauty, bounty, and benignity. Oh, probably said that wrong. Let's look up that word anyway. You know, probably get lost here and have to start all over. Benight. Beniety. Beniety. Okay, beniety. I messed it up. Beniety. And I'm saying it right now. I was going to look at how to say it right, but I'm saying it actually right without even looking at it. So that is kindness or tolerance towards others. Beniety. Interesting. So here we go. I'm actually glad that I could pronounce that right off, because I didn't know that it actually meant that. To be nice or to be kind to others. And it says, we must delight ourselves in His beauty, bounty, and benignity. Our souls must return to Him and repose in Him as their rest and their portion forever. Being satisfied of His loving kindness, we must be satisfied with it and make that our exceeding joy. Psalm 43:4. We are commanded, verse 3, to do good, and then follows this command to delight in God, which is as much as a privilege as a duty. If we make conscience of obedience to God, we may then take comfort of a complacency in Him. And even this pleasant duty of delighting in God has a promise annexed to it, which is very full and precious, enough to recompense the hardest services. He shall give thee the desires of thy heart. He has not promised to gratify all the appetites of the body, and the humors of the fancy, but to grant all the desires of the heart, all the cravings of the renewed sanctified soul. What is the desire of the heart of a good man? It is to know and to love and to live to God, to please him and to be pleased in him.